stubborn. Yeah, and we
G7
see
played.
G7.
That's it.
It is what hard fought draw, and there you see the nod from Nodirbek. He knows it's in the bank. It's a draw. He has
I
managed to
would
survive now for so many hours. King is going to go back to f7. The rook can go to g3. It does
I would
not
even
matter.
I would even go king f7 here. And if I just may show one more line, rook b7 check, you go to g8, king g6 check, and this is a well-known idea, king to h7. And black sandwiches his king right amongst the trees, and that's it. Now black is suddenly the one push. I mean, like, white has to force the draw because rook to g6 check is going to disattach the king from the pawn. But Nodirbek takes the alternate approach and goes rook to g3. Also perfectly sufficient. And of course, he's going to give away his rook for the pawn at the right moment, or continue checking the king as much as he wants to. This is draw.
I think Vincent, he's been such a fighter. He's going to continue one last attempt by just pushing the king up to h6.
Yeah.
Although that might come with some risk.
Definitely should. You start getting into that territory. Listen, you've got a minute on the clock. Anything can happen. He moves the king up to h6 and now f3. I think it's important for Nodirbek just to push while he still has a chance. He's got 17 minutes to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Still, there has to be slightly careful. You can be careless. Like, for instance, if you play f3, and if white were to play rook b3, thinking, woo-hoo-hoo, it's all good, then it doesn't really matter because f2 doesn't really work because of rook takes rook.
And as usual, just no matter how many times they're repeated, unfortunately, it doesn't matter because when the engine says something, people stop looking at the position and stop looking at the practical difficulty of finding things. Rook endgames are notorious for this, notorious for convincing spectators that grandmasters are terrible at chess and should not receive an invite to these events. But, those who are able to, to actually look at the board and understand the difficulty of finding engine moves in a rook endgame also understand that the way they handle themselves in this endgame is phenomenal. I think the level of play in this rook endgame for human players was tremendous, given 5.5 hours of play before they even reached it. And I'm going to keep repeating that, no matter how many times people, say that they missed 6 or 7 stockfish wins and black missed, 10 stockfish draws. Who cares?
Yeah, but even then, I would argue that the computer isn't necessarily seeing the full picture. And for me, these two players have played exceptionally well, and I don't see any errors, actually. And in Norwegian, we have this beautiful expression called slipper hero. Our slipper hero sits on the couch, wears their slippers, and thinks that they can run and sort the world. And it's very easy when you're watching chess with a machine to sit there and say, what was that? I mean, really,
rook h3
call yourself
instead of rook
27. Yeah, exactly. Call yourself 2700.
And there's 2 more things I'll say as they shake hands and agree a draw. That when you see the table-based move, you don't realize why that move is correct. You think you do, but you actually don't. The explanations for why moves are correct are much more complicated than anybody realizes. And we are aware that table bases exist, but the reason we were not checking them is to put ourselves in the player's shoes. The players aren't able to look at the table base. They have no idea if it's winning or drawn. And obviously that changes the way that they play. What a defensive effort. Just a monstrous defensive task pulled off by the tournament leader, who keeps his half-point lead in this event, much to the chagrin of Anish Giri, whose dinner was briefly interrupted here. He ain't going to be happy for a little while, because he's going to have to continue winning to stop the Uzbek juggernaut from carrying this tournament all the way to the end.